Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at something pretty specific, actually. It's more than just a curriculum. It feels like cracking open a technical blueprint.
Yeah, a blueprint designed to tackle this really persistent problem that so many singer-songwriters face today.
Exactly. That challenge of, you're skilled, your songs are good, but your tracks just keep getting overlooked, skipped by playlists, missed for sync opportunities. It's frustrating.
hmm And we're basing this on a really detailed look at a specific approach, a course description actually,
Hmm.
that targets that exact pain point. You've got the voice, the lyrics, the basic demo.
But you send it out and you
Right.
get that feedback. That polite, but honestly kind of crushing rejection. The source material quotes it directly. Nice idea, but not playlist ready.
Yeah, not playlist ready. That phrase just lands heavy, doesn't it?
It really does. And it signals usually a technical gap, right? A structural gap, not necessarily a creative one.
That's the key insight.
Mm.
So our mission today, really, is to get under the hood of this methodology. It's from the Pop Ballads Orchestrated for Spotify Plus Sync course description. We want to understand how it claims it can take those, well, structurally thin demos
Right.
and systematically build them into something much bigger, something commercially viable, radio and sync-ready orchestral pop ballads. And they claim in just 12 weeks.
Which is a bold claim. And the central idea, the thesis that the source introduces, it's kind of a game changer, isn't it? We should probably put that right out front.
Absolutely. It argues that the big difference, the thing that separates those overlooked demos
Mhm.
from the tracks that actually land, major placements, movie trailers, Netflix shows,
Yeah.
big ad campaigns,
Yeah, the stuff everyone's aiming for.
it's often not the songwriting. It might not even be the vocal performance.
Really?
Yeah. It's the orchestration. That's the core argument. It shifts the whole focus, doesn't it? From just being a talented artist to being like a high-level sonic architect, someone who could build these huge, scalable soundscapes.
Okay, so we're talking arrangement strategy, deep arrangement strategy, not just, slapping on some reverb or fiddling with the mix.
Precisely. It's about engineering a sound that commands attention. A professional sound.
Got it. Okay, let's dive into that first part then. Diagnosing the problem.
Okay, so let's really define this trap. Because so many talented people fall into it, the source material, it really lays out this frustration loop quite well.
The loop, yeah.
Artists get stuck because their raw demos, even if they're emotionally powerful, they just don't. They don't hold up sonically against major label stuff.
Yeah.
You put them side by side in a playlist.
And the difference is immediately obvious. It sounds smaller, less polished.
Exactly. And that leads to this confusion, this kind of why me feeling. They don't get why the streaming curators or the sync libraries just skip right over their tracks.
Yeah, it feels like a puzzle, right? The song is good, maybe the genre even fits the brief perfectly, but there's this perceived lack of professional scale.
That's the term, perceived lack of scale.
Hmm.
It's critical. And it usually comes down to this mismatch, right? Between what the professional market expects,
Yeah.
right? That's, texture, depth, that cinematic feel,
Yeah.
and the reality of what maybe you can achieve easily in a smaller home studio setup. It's like your sound is stuck, trapped in that bedroom production
Mhm.
sound that never quite sounds expensive or, cinematic.
And that expense, that weight, that's what professional orchestration brings to the table.
That's the argument. Now, you mentioned trying to fix this yourself.
Oh, yeah. Early days, definitely. You know your track needs to sound bigger, so what do? You throw in some string patches from a VST, maybe layer up some synth pads.
We've all been there.
Right. But the source material is pretty sharp here. It really pinpoints why those quick fixes without a proper system often just fail. The sound either just muddies up the mix.
Yeah, too much low-mid gunk.
Exactly. Or maybe even worse, it just feels like wallpaper. It's there, but it's not doing anything. It's not the spotlight.
That wallpaper effect, that's a fantastic way to diagnose failed orchestration, isn't it? The extra sounds are just existing. They're not adding to the story, not supporting the dynamics. They're just flat fillers.
Static.
Totally static. And the technical reason behind this often is what they call the orchestration barrier.
Mhm.
It's this misconception that just adding orchestral bits is easy. But real orchestration, especially blending it into pop, it's actually highly technical.
And the analysis here goes deeper than just add strings. It diagnoses the problem as a failure in applying things like dynamics correctly, getting the voicings right, building that overall cinematic structure.
Yeah, and it often comes from that belief, that limiting belief that orchestration is, quote, only for film composers.
Right. So when you try to kind of fake that depth without understanding the principles, you just end up adding noise, really, complexity that just clutters things up.
So to fight that, the program sets out a really specific, pretty ambitious goal. Success isn't just, oh, my demo sounds a bit better now. The promise is reaching a high industry standard. Creating, and I'm quoting again, big cinematic radio-ready ballads. That actively. Well, they say, Scream, place me in a movie scene.
Okay, that's a high bar. So it's not just about the sound quality and isolation, it's about the sound's function.
Exactly. You're engineering a track to carry in-house visual weight, storytelling weight, to achieve like a visual experience just through the sound itself.
Hmm?
And all within that 12-week time frame.
And anyone who's dealt with the sync world knows tracks that already feel cinematic, they just jump to the front of the line. They make the music supervisor's job easier.
They serve the picture effortlessly. That's the goal.
Okay, so that's the problem and the goal. How does this specific approach, this School on X solution, actually propose to get people there?
Right, moving from diagnosis to the actual prescription. This is where the methodology they describe really seems to diverge from, typical music lessons or online tutorials.
Yeah, it looks like it completely rejects that sort of piecemeal, learn a trick here and there approach.
It does. The core idea is laid out in what they call the immersion learning revelation.
And the analogy they use is pretty striking. Think about how people learn languages, not by reading a phrase book once a week, but by immersing themselves.
Right. And they contrast that directly with what they see as ineffective just watching, random YouTube tutorials on how to add strings.
Which, let's be honest, we've all done. And the results are usually patchy.
Exactly. So instead, they're talking about creating an environment, one that's designed to basically force skill acquisition through content-structured practice and application.
It's an environmental shift then. They even state that the goal isn't just to teach orchestration principles.
No, it's bolder. They aim to, quote, manufacture orchestral pop producers, which sounds a bit intense, maybe.
A little, but the idea, I guess, is about consistency and reliability in the outcome.
Right. And to do that, they say you have to eliminate the student's blind spots, because that's the biggest killer in self-learning, isn't it? You don't know what you don't know.
Absolutely. You think you've nailed it, but you've missed something crucial.
So they tackle this with what they call a highly structured multimodal advantage system, addressing different learning styles.
Okay, let's unpack those modalities, because it looks like they're trying to cover all the bases, make sure everyone gets it, no matter how they learn best.
Seems that way. So for visual learners, they talk about providing arrangements actually mapped out visually, step-by-step guides using text and scores, and even detailed visual maps for things like voicings, dynamics, transitions.
So you're not just hearing the end result, you're seeing the blueprint, the professional roadmap that got there. That demystifies it a lot.
It really does, especially seeing professional score layouts. Then, for auditory learners, they mentioned 247 audio libraries, specifically designed to train the producer's ear, and critically, including before and after mixes.
Ah, the A-B comparison. That's essential for hearing the difference, right? For internalizing that leap from amateur to cinematic, you have to train your ear to spot it instantly.
Exactly. And then, for the kinesthetic learners, the hands-on types, and also maybe reading learners, the process demands action. You're
Yeah.
actually building full orchestrations. You're studying detailed scores. You're turning theory into practice almost immediately.
So the knowledge doesn't just stay abstract or academic. You have to apply it right away.
Makes sense. Now, this whole systematic approach, it's framed by something the source calls the Tesla methodology.
Okay, the Tesla methodology. I have to admit, that phrase immediately makes my marketing jargon alarm bells ring a little bit.
Mine too. It's catchy, but what's the actual substance behind it? They say, we don't just create courses, we manufacture experts. What does that mean in practical terms?
That's a fair question. I think if we peel back the marketing gloss, the Tesla engineered system metaphor is probably meant to imply precision, repeatable quality, standardization.
Like an assembly line.
Sort of, yeah, like creating a manufacturing pipeline for talent. The key seems to be these consistent quality control checkpoints built into every module.
Ah, okay. So it's about replacing the unpredictable, sometimes messy results of self-teaching with a standardized process designed for a high-level output every time.
That seems to be the idea. It's not just Here's the theory. Good luck applying it. It's more like embedding quality assurance so you can't really move forward unless you're hitting certain professional benchmarks.
Right. The difference between just hoping your car works versus knowing it passed like 10 rigorous inspections before it left the factory.
Exactly. And the centerpiece of this QC system, the really innovative part designed to nail those blind spots we talked about, is the AI orchestration coach.
Okay, now this sounds interesting. An AI coach for orchestration, giving instant feedback.
Yeah. It solves that classic problem of the producer working alone, right? Historically, you had no objective, expert second opinion until you maybe submitted the track. And by then, it's often too late. The flaws are baked in.
Too true. So the power, as the source puts it, is this combination. AI coaching plus community feedback, no blind spots.
Let's think about the technical need for that. Orchestration is so much about nuance, isn't it? Take voicing, for example.
Oh, absolutely. It's not just knowing you need to distribute the notes of a chord. Beginners often make mistakes like clumping strings too close together in the lower registers.
Right, which instantly creates mud, harmonic clashes, kills the clarity in those crucial low mids.
Exactly. A human ear, especially a tired one late at night, might miss that initially. But an AI coach, presumably, is trained to spot those clashing intervals, poor register choices, maybe even dynamic inconsistencies instantly.
That kind of precise feedback, that's the stuff that usually costs a fortune if you hire a pro arranger or conductor to review your work.
For sure. And they cite an anecdote, right? Where the AI coach flagged clashing strings for someone, helping them fix a potentially demo syncing error.
Yeah, it highlights how this tech targets those specific, often costly mistakes.
And it must also help with consistency and dynamics, right? Cinematic music needs that wide dynamic range for emotional impact.
But modern streaming, with the loudness wars, it tends to squash everything flat.
Precisely. So the system needs to train you to arrange for maximum impact before it even gets near the mastering stage. That means really controlling attacks, decays, the overall dynamic shape, which the AI could monitor rigorously.
Okay, so let's talk about the overall quality assurance. The source mentions every orchestration step goes through an 8-station quality control process. It says it moves from harmony to dynamics to mix.
8 stations. That sounds comprehensive.
It does. If the system is really engineered for pro results, we should try and figure out what those 8 stations might logically cover, even if they don't list them all explicitly.
Okay, let's deduce. Modern sync tracks are complex beasts. They need to pass multiple checks. If you start with the problem, the wallpaper effect, and aim for the outcome cinematic placement, those 8 stations have to cover the whole life cycle of making a track truly professional.
Right, so harmony and dynamics are mentioned. That's station 1 and 2, maybe.
Plausibly. What else is critical for orchestration? Structural checks, definitely. So, stations 3 and 4 could cover things like sectional balance, making sure different parts of the orchestra work together, not against each other. And maybe register optimization, ensuring instruments aren't fighting for the same frequency space, or that the high strings don't sound thin and screechy.
That makes sense. Avoiding sonic traffic jams. Then stations 5 and 6, maybe getting closer to the mix. Things like frequency clarity, making sure everything has its own space, and spatial panning, ensuring the stereo image works. The reverb is deliberate, not just slapped on.
Good point. And checking mono compatibility too, crucial for sync. Okay, so that brings us towards the final polish. Stations 7 and 8, these have to cover the technical delivery side, right?
Absolutely. Things like loudness compliance, hitting the right LUFS targets for Spotify, Apple Music, broadcast, and maybe metadata and delivery formatting, making sure the file is tagged correctly, correct format, everything async library or curator needs for ingestion.
Exactly. It's not enough for it to just sound good subjectively. It has to pass all those technical hurdles, survive professional scrutiny across all, let's say, 8 checkpoints.
So this QC process, it really changes the game from just hopeful experimentation to something closer to guaranteed execution, ensuring the final product is actually ready for commercial use.
That seems to be the core value proposition of the system design.
Okay, let's map this onto the actual 12-week journey they lay out. How does this structured approach unfold week by week?
All right, the 12-week map itself, it looks like it's phased really logically. It guides the learner from the basics, the theory, up through advanced skills, application, and then finally that professional completion.
Yeah, the structure seems designed to build complexity step by step. You can't just jump into complex cinematic layering if you don't grasp the fundamentals of the orchestral palette first, right?
Makes sense. Lay the foundation. So phase 1 is foundation, weeks 1 and 2. The core stuff here is listed as fundamentals of orchestral pop, string sections, piano textures, orchestral palettes. Starting there is so important because it establishes that common professional language. You need to learn the standard ways instruments are voiced, the different articulations, what defines the sound of this genre.
Like understanding the specific role and sound of, say, first violins versus second violins, or the weight the cellos and basses bring.
Exactly. It's about moving beyond just picking random sounds towards making deliberate, informed choices based on established professional textures.
So establish the vocabulary before you try to write the essay. Got it. Then it was pretty quickly into phase 2, weeks 3 through 5. This is called skill building.
And this looks like the real technical deep dive. It covers voicing, dynamics, cinematic layering, hybrid orchestration.
Okay, that's a significant step up in complexity. We touched on voicing earlier. Getting it wrong sounds amateur. Getting it right creates that richness and clarity without the mud.
Right. And this stage probably goes deeper into advanced voicing techniques. Things like using pedal tones effectively, writing counter melodies within the orchestration that support the main vocal without actually getting in its way.
And the inclusion of hybrid orchestration seems key. That signals the real goal here is sync readiness, right? This isn't just about sounding like a traditional film score.
Absolutely not. Hybrid orchestration is crucial for modern commercial music. It's that sophisticated blend of acoustic realism, like really high-quality sampled strings or brass,
Yeah.
blended seamlessly with modern electronic textures. Maybe specific synth pads, a Moog bass line, processed rhythmic elements, that kind of thing.
That is the sound of so much modern sync music, isn't it? It needs to feel epic and human, but also current.
Totally. So this stage moves beyond just basic arranging towards that specialized cinematic technique that music supervisors are actively looking for right now.
Okay, then phase 3, weeks 6 through 8. This shifts immediately into application and creation projects. The big assignment here is to transform one of your own demos into an orchestral ballad.
And doing this with the learner's own material, that's so important. It makes sure the techniques aren't just abstract concepts learned in isolation.
Right, you have to internalize them, personalize them, and actually prove they work with your specific artistic style and your existing songs.
It becomes the ultimate proof of concept for everything learned in the first half of the course. Does this system actually work on my music?
Good point. Then we get into the final phases, which seem really focused on professionalism and getting tangible results. Phase 4 covers weeks 9 through 11. It starts with style development in weeks 9 and 10. The goal: find your orchestral pop sound.
Now, this is interesting because mastering the techniques is one thing, but if everyone graduates sounding exactly the same, like a generic template?
They won't stand out in a sync library pitch.
Exactly. So this stage seems focused on helping the learner apply their own unique artistic stamp. Maybe it's through specific sound choices they favor, or signature rhythmic ideas, or unusual ways of combining textures, making sure the final portfolio is distinctively theirs, marketable as them.
Which leads right into the concrete deliverable for week 11, portfolio building. The goal is crystal clear: produce 2 finished sync-ready tracks.
That's a measurable outcome, isn't it? It goes beyond just, I completed the module. You walk away with tangible assets, a foundation for actually pitching your music.
2 polished tracks, ready to send out immediately. That feels like the whole point of this systematic approach, turning knowledge into something you can actually use, maybe even monetize.
Right. And the whole 12-week process wraps up with phase 5, week 12, professional Polish. The focus here is squarely on radio mix and sync delivery standards.
And you flagged this earlier. This is the crucial final step that so many self-taught producers miss, right?
Oh, absolutely. You can have the most stunning arrangement, but if the mix levels are wrong for Spotify, or the LUFS are off, or the metadata isn't embedded correctly, it just fails the technical check. It won't get placed.
So you need to know the specific requirements, those loudness units, maybe certain frequency balances, the right file formats, how to name things, all the unglamorous but essential stuff.
Unglamorous but critical for getting accepted by serious libraries or radio pluggers. It's the difference between having a piece of art and having a commercially viable product.
Okay, so by nailing this final polish, the source is reinforcing that ultimate promise. Your music won't just be songs. There'll be placements waiting to happen.
Which frames the whole thing as an investment in professional readiness, not just creative skill.
Definitely. Okay, so that covers the journey. Now let's talk value, investment, and the practical next steps mentioned.
Yeah, given everything we've just unpacked, the structured immersion, the AI coach, that multimodal learning, the 8-station QC process, we've Really analyze quite an intense professional level system here.
It seems very comprehensive.
Which brings us to the value equation. The investment cost listed in the source is, well, it's stated as $97 for the complete system.
Okay, $97. We need to put that number in context, though. Move beyond just the price tag and think about the strategic value. The source material itself contrasts this with typical industry costs,
It
right?
does. It points out that hiring a professional arranger just to score one track, that could easily set you back $1,000 or more.
Ah.
And engaging a sync consultant, maybe just for a few hours of advice on how to make your tracks more sync-friendly, that could be around $500 per hour.
So when you frame it like that, the $97 looks very different. It's positioned as a one-time cost to acquire a skill set, a repeatable process that could potentially eliminate the need for those much higher recurring external fees.
Exactly. You're shifting from constantly renting expertise, hiring arrangers, consultants, to actually building the capability internally, mastering the skill yourself.
And we shouldn't forget the hidden cost. The source mentions the cost of wasted time chasing random tutorials, right? Building up bits of knowledge maybe, but without any quality control or clear professional path forward.
Good point. That scattered approach can take years and yield very little in terms of actual placements. So this initial $97 investment, it's framed as buying the entire 12-week immersion program, the AI coaching, the community support, the foundation for a pro portfolio.
And maybe most importantly, that systematic methodology for getting repeatable, high-level results.
And we can look at the course's claimed effectiveness through the real-world results cited in the source. These aren't just abstract promises. They're presented as tangible outcomes.
Yeah, there's the story of the producer who apparently got accepted into a sync library within 10 weeks of starting.
And that quick success was directly linked, in the anecdote, to the AI coach catching flaws that the producer themselves wouldn't have spotted.
That's a compelling. And then there's the artist who said playlisters finally added their ballads specifically because, quote, it sounded cinematic and bigger.
Which directly validates the core premise, right? That developing these specific orchestration skills translates directly into better visibility and discoverability in today's really crowded streaming market.
It also seems to tackle that psychological barrier we mentioned earlier. That feeling some artists have that high-level orchestration is some kind of exclusive club, only for people who went to fancy conservatories for years. Exactly. The program seems positioned as breaking down that barrier, offering a structured, technology-assisted path to democratize what's traditionally been seen as a very high-level, almost gate-kept industry skill.
Now, beyond the core 12-week program, the value is boosted significantly by these exclusive bonuses they list. These look pretty practical, aimed at bridging that gap between finishing the track and actually getting it placed.
Yeah, they seem designed to remove the guesswork from that crucial final step. Things like sync pitch templates, valued at $197, ready-to-use email formats, metadata sheets.
So you know exactly how to approach a music supervisor professionally, takes the fear out of hitting send on that pitch.
Right. Then there's an orchestral pop sample pack valued at $297. This gives learners immediate access to high-quality sounds needed for that cinematic scale, presumably without needing to immediately invest hundreds or thousands more in third-party virtual instruments.
That lowers the barrier to entry significantly. And finally, they address the marketing side with a playlist pitch roadmap valued at $147. Which sounds like a step-by-step strategy for navigating the often confusing world of playlist submissions, trying to increase your chances of landing on Spotify editorial lists or those big independent ones.
So yeah, these aren't just fluff extras. They seem like genuinely useful, strategic business tools.
Agreed. Okay, so for listeners who are interested, what are the practical logistics?
The source mentions specific dates. Doors apparently open November 25th, 2025. This structured launch highlights the chance to be part of the first cohort.
The founding members. They often get extra attention and support as the system is rolled out and scaled.
That's the implication. Being part of that first group is positioned as having exclusive attention. And they mention limited seats, reinforcing that idea. Plus, the founding member price is locked at that $97.
So there's an element of urgency. Miss that initial window and the price might go up, or you won't get that same level of focus.
Seems likely. And importantly, there's a safety net mention, a 60-day money-back guarantee.
Okay, that's significant. It removes pretty much all the financial risk for the learner. It shows a lot of confidence from the provider in their own system, the methodology, the AI coach, the whole QC process.
Yeah, it puts the burden of proof squarely on the course itself. Deliver the transformation or you get your money back.
Makes sense.
All right, so that covers the value and practicalities. Let's try and synthesize this whole deep dive. Hashtag, tag, tag, outro.
Okay, so wrapping this up, what we've really analyzed here is a system. It's designed not just to teach, but to, as they put it, systematically manufacture a specific professional skill set.
Yeah, it's aimed squarely at solving that very specific, very high-stakes problem of talented artists being overlooked. And the method seems to be about eliminating those structural and technical blind spots.
Through that powerful combination, it seems, of a structured immersion, forcing the practice and objective, tech-driven feedback from that AI coach and the QC process.
Which leads us maybe to a final provocative thought for you, the listener, to chew on. If the gap between a demo gathering dust on your hard drive and a track landing a major movie trailer placement, if that gap can now potentially be bridged by mastering a systematic 12-week framework boosted by AI and rigorous quality checks.
Then what other high-level industry skills, things that maybe seemed out of reach before, might actually be accessible right now? Accessible through similar structured immersion approaches, rather than relying on pure luck or connections or just years and years of unstructured, costly trial and error.
It's an interesting question about how skilled acquisition might be changing.
Definitely. And the ultimate outcome, the goal articulated right there in the source material, is pretty motivating, isn't it? It should really guide your focus if this resonates. The goal is to become the artist whose ballads sound too cinematic to ignore.
It really boils down to that, leveraging this kind of structured approach, this technology, to make sure your creative work gets the professional respect and hopefully the commercial opportunities that you feel it deserves, making your music undeniable.
Well put, undeniable.